All right, it says we're live. Cool. So what we're gonna do today is I got sent a product, these board game clips from Printables by Karen, and they had a Kickstarter campaign. We went over in the regular channel, and they sent me a sample. So I figured we'd take a look at it. I'm gonna compare it. I know, like in Germany, some places they don't allow comparisons, but this is America, so I'm gonna compare. I bought these from Shapeways a long time ago. I bought them multiple times actually, and they're super expensive printouts of basically the same thing. They are board game holders. These are like $15, and right now on the website you get a good amount of them for far less than that on the Printables by Karen website. It's more than what you would have had if you were buying from Kickstarter, but it's still less than what it cost for Shapeways. They are made out of a rigid PLA, and I mean, yeah, you could try to print these off yourself, but it's going to be more than $10 for you to go buy a printer. It's going to be more than $10 for you to sit there and dick around trying to find a filament. It's going to be a little bit more for you to try to develop it yourself than it would be to just pick it up from these folks. And they've got a lot of other things on their website. I'll show you the website real quick of what you'll get. If I can get it to work. Ah, it works. Good. Okay. So there it is. It's $9. You can get multiple colors. You can get they're all about the same size, and you can get different batches. The Shapeways one was kind of a singular batch, and basically you just looked up Zombicide board holder and you could find it there. They've had it there for years. uh, I'm a little wondering if they've been able to source filament, and maybe you can ask them that on the live chat depending on when you were to go pick up this type of product or want to test this type of product. As far as I'm aware, they're not offering any STL files for any of their stuff right now. Maybe that's something you could talk to them about, but at $10 to print it for you, it's fairly cheap. Filament is hard to come by right now, as a lot of people are using 3D filaments or 3D printer filaments to help supply healthcare workers. So whenever you watch this, possibly in the future, and you're questioning, hey, where do I get one? Maybe the filaments will be much more plentiful, and the printers themselves will be much more plentiful. I did offer a suggestion to these guys of making a flexible filament version, maybe a hybrid between flexible filaments, because having the PLA on a plastic table, I don't know what you guys have. Maybe you have placemats, maybe you have something else to keep the stuff from sliding around, may just make the boards slide a little more. And that was a concern that I had. It is something that you will have no matter what you get, but I'm always the type of person to say, hey, what is the one more thing we can add to give it a little something special? And I think being able to add some type of silicone or some other thing in a very small layer just to offer a little bit of resistance would be cool. Not necessary at all. So you've had a chance to look at this webpage, you've had a chance to write down the webpage or jump to it or go to the description and click on the link and go to it yourself. So let's get to the testing, right? All right, so first off, what do you get? You get these, I don't know if you can really tell from my shadow, but you get these little ones here, and then you get these ones that look like Pac-Man. And those are the basic shapes. If you were to purchase from the Shapeways variety, they have, they look like half pieces, and then they have a center corner, and the half pieces are basically exteriors, and the rest of it you can just kind of figure out from whatever you want. So there's different philosophies. These, when they join the tiles, they would join a tile in the center and off to the sides and maybe go up here. So that's how they would hold on to them. Whereas it would treat it a little bit different. You don't have a four-way on these new ones. You just kind of set the L however you would go, and on one side it will hold it together, and just in the center you hold it together. That's the difference. You can do threes, but you can't do fours. If you did have fours, you would just use these exteriors and hold it together pretty well. What's the difference? Well, let's take a look. Does it matter? It depends on how many boards you have. If you're looking at 16 boards, or some of them, like maybe 64 boards, depending on how big your Zombicide stuff is, then you might have some issues. If you pop them in here, one of the things you'll notice about my boards possibly is that they're a little shiny. I like to put transparent tape on the edges, right at the corners, because I always use these things and they have a tendency to lift up the paper, and I don't like that. One of the reasons why is because of the way you have to slide them in. You kind of like slide in the corner and like hook it and try to get it to work. These ones on the Printables by Karen brand are a little easier to pop on and pop off, and they don't seem to have as much wear and tear on the corners, but I still use transparent tape to do that. So let's show you a little bit how it would all go together. Then we're going to shake it around a little bit and just see if you notice too much of a variation in the board, and that'll tell you if it's something that you want or not. So there we go. Is it in there? It's in there. So that would be why you may want a centerpiece to go in there. A lot of times it's more of a pain in the butt to get that centerpiece in than is worth it. So that part's up to you. So we'll slide this guy in, and then we'll slide this guy in. And like I said, I have all of my stuff taped down, so it should make this whole project a little bit more resilient. And there we go. Holds together pretty good. That's the point, right? It doesn't make it extra slick, jumping on the table. There's not too much extra concavity caused by the lifting of the edges. It's not pushing so much that if I did push down that I'd worry about indentations. So that part's pretty good. That's basically what you would expect it to be. And like I said, you could, if you wanted, I was using this as a mouse pad, if you were so inclined, just use these outer edges. And these are Zombicide boards. Simon, I think, uses basically the same size 11-inch board for everything. And you know, I was looking for a thinner one, but I really couldn't find a company that was utilizing a thinner board. Sometimes they would have side boards that were a little bit thinner, but the main board itself seems to always be the same material. Your mileage may vary, and we cover what, like 40 of these per week, so I'm sure they're not all getting it from the same place and getting it to the exact same spec, but you know, generally I'm sure there's a minimum requirement that most of these guys are supposed to fall within for consumer expectation. And if they've been making board games manufacturing for a while, then they probably know what's up. So here's a 4x or 2x2, 4 boards, and yeah, it takes a couple extra seconds to set this kind of thing up, and there's a little bit extra pain in my butt to do it, but then, as you can see, it's pretty good. And you can get it pretty tight if you want. Yeah, they're on that center part. It's sticking up a little bit. It really shouldn't affect your gameplay in any real way. So that little movement, you know, you hit your buddy's beer off the table, you know, and it'll probably still hold together. Whatever it is that you decide is your method or reason for your madness, I think it will hold up pretty well, and it will scale out. If you did have, say, 16 boards, then the boards in the center will have a problem. At 3 boards, 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2, 3, so 9 total, the center board in this configuration would have some difficulty. If you did run into that, you could try using the Pac-Man one, which I put back in here. So we could see what happens with the extra board, where it would go if we did run into a 3x3 board arrangement. You got to think about how you want to assign these. So first up, there we go. Next up would be into here, and then try to like get the edge going there, and there it would sit. You would have a little bit of a lip as a result of it that you could try to work with. It won't be great, but you can kind of make it work, and it's big enough to where it's still not going to flop around, but you just have to kind of dick with it in order to make that work. So that's the challenge of using these, as I stated, much less expensive Printables by Karen versions. I will also tell you, if you've never done 3D printing, that the grain on this is in the right direction, because there is a way that you could print this off and it would just snap off immediately. This is done in a way that the grain is set so that it has enough strength to hold it all together. The rigidity, I don't think, is necessary if you had a rubber version of this and it just had enough material on this top edge in order to hold with just a little bit of shape, and there'd be some friction beneath it, and that would be my preferred. 100% I wish they made this product type, but that's not necessarily for everybody. There is the engineer in my brain that says it must be like this, and that's what it says. I will put on these other ones, these more expensive versions, for you now, just for the sake of full comparison, so that when you make your decision as to what it is that you want to buy, you're all set. So, as I said, these kind of, you hit it in the corner, you get it in there, you hit it in the corner, you get it in there. You take your centerpiece pieces here and get it locked in. It's as good as that's going to get. And there's the center one. Again, this is the competitor one. This is not the Printables by Karen one that I was sent. This is just showing you that there are different methods, different types. You make your decisions. It's a little more of a pain in the ass to fit that center one in there if you needed to do that. And there's that. And we'll slide this guy. Does it get quicker over time? No, it really doesn't. And like it just popped out right there. You're going to constantly deal with the pain in the ass of redoing it until you get it right. That's the hassle of having the center ones. But you made that choice, right? That choice was up to you. And you said that was what was for me. There you go. There you go. There. So there's a little bit of space between them just because that's the nature of it. You still got the same kind of shake to it, resistance, not that big a deal. I know the camera is sitting there wobbling and all that, but that's what you got to deal with on occasion. So, oh, lost my mouse pad. Making sure you can still hear me. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You can compare. You got one or you got the other. Save yourself some money, I would say, unless you really have large boards that you need these center ones, and then just get the center ones if you can, as many as you think you need, and possibly then go and get the cheaper ones to fill in the rest, because if you did have a large board, then you're not going to get too many more. I think you could probably only add maybe there's not enough for a 3x3 board on one package, but you could get enough relatively inexpensive for a 3x3 or more, whatever it is that you think you need. And the only thing you're sacrificing is a slight gap in certain sections, and you can be creative with where you put those pieces, and you might even be able to eliminate or mitigate the gaps depending on what you use. Or just don't shake the table too much, and the thing that's in the center, or the ones that are in the center, can just be held in by the outer board shapes, and you can just slide it and pop it back in, and you won't have to worry about any of it. So that's that. Thanks to Mike Stankiewicz for sending this out to me. Obviously a family affair of folks. They have a lot of different other products available for different games. I haven't played the other games that they have stuff for, so maybe you have. And I hope they keep making cool printable things at reasonable prices that benefit you in whatever way possible. If you want to give me a like and subscribe, it's hard to think that you would have found a live stream like this without already being subscribed, but that's cool. That always helps. And if you, as always, can look into the description to jump and pick up stuff. If you like this type of review and you want me to do more, I'll do more if people send me stuff, and we'll go from there. And as always, you can check back in for regular episodes every week, somewhere around the weekend usually, unless there's a lot going on that month, in which case we'll do a second or third episode of everything that's going on in the board games and RPG spaces of Kickstarter, and stuff you can pick up and go from there. Stay healthy, stay safe. You guys have a good one while I figure out how to end the stream.